Today we're going to read two different passages from the Gospel of John. They're both very short, one from John 14 and one from John 8. Let's share in God's good word together. Jesus said to him, I am the way and the truth and the life. And you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Amen. Please be seated. Here's something shocking that I've learned. Time by itself doesn't change anything. It only makes you more of what you are today. Let me say that again. Time doesn't change anything. It only makes you more of what you are today. If you don't believe me, talk to somebody who's 85. They are who they are. No filter. And you might ask, how did they get that way? The answer? One decision at a time. One decision at a time. My name's Mark Foster. I'm the founding and senior pastor. Good to see you. I've been out on sabbatical for 6 weeks. It's good to be back. And I wanted to come back to this month as we head into a new school year this week. And here's really what I want for us as a congregation. It's pretty simple. You ready? I want you to make good decisions. Really, I do. I want you to make good decisions. I want you to make better decisions. I want you to have the tools that you need to help yourself, your children, your nieces, your nephews, your friends, your close friends to make really good, life-giving decisions. You know why? Because better decisions lead to fewer regrets. And I don't know everything, but this I do know. Particularly, this is true for everybody. But I hope you say this with me. You don't make good decisions alone. Let's say it again. You don't make good decisions alone. And when you find yourself like, hey, that's none of your business. It's my business. Nobody else can know that you're in trouble. You're already in trouble. When you try to make decisions solely on your own self with no input from any wisdom, that's a problem. So this back to school month, this back to school week, we are going to learn how to make better decisions together, not alone. As we get started, here's something to think about. This comes from a book by Andy Stanley that I found about 5 years ago, and I've wanted to preach on it ever since. But this thing that he says next, if you're a parent, this might stick with you. It really stuck with me. He says the most significant thing may not be something you do, it may be someone you raise. And certainly with our two boys out of the house now, that's certainly true. The most significant thing that you do may not be something you do. It may be someone you raise. So again, just so we don't forget, as a way of introduction, say it again with me. You don't make good decisions alone, right? And so here's the book I was referencing. It's called Better Decisions, Fewer Regrets. It's a tiny little book. You may notice the tagline, 5 questions to help you determine your next move. I'm only doing 4. You have to get the book to read the other one. So we'll be doing something else in September. So here's the basic things, right? Good questions lead to better decisions. Say that with me. Good questions lead to better decisions. Haven't you ever made a decision, and particularly like a purchase, maybe it took batteries you didn't know it took, or maybe it was only good for 4 hours, or something else. And haven't you ever found yourself saying, I should ask more questions, right? Right? Better decisions, right, lead to fewer regrets, right? We need to ask a lot of questions. I'm going to show you one of my favorite photos of all time. Maybe you've seen it. No regrets. Really? Think you might have one. Like which tattoo artist you chose to use. And can he spell? Right? Has anybody checked? Could you see him make? If you get a tattoo, watch it in the mirror as it's happening. Right? No regrets. Come on, man. Right? So here's the basic framework for this sermon. And this is true for other people, but particularly for yourself. Ask. And just think about it for a second. Is there anything in your life that you've basically been like, I really don't want to know the answer to that? So I'm just not asking the question. I'm just not asking it. Ask yourself the question. And then, if you're brave enough, bold enough to ask, and by the way, God's with you, and that's a good thing, answer honestly. It does you no good to ask the question and then lie to yourself. It's not helping you. Answer honestly. And then, of course, when you're ready, act accordingly. Ask the question, say it with me. Ask, answer honestly, act accordingly. Now, in the wisdom literature of the Bible, we know as Proverbs, it says this: a prudent person sees trouble and ducks. A simpleton walks blindly and is, what's the word? Clobbered. Oh my gosh. And we've seen this. Haven't you had somebody in your life be like, it's all good? Boom. Right? Ask some questions. Ask some questions. We are to be wise as serpent, the scripture says, and innocent as doves. And here's the tricky part. I can talk to you about this all day long, but there is no guarantee that there will be a connection between knowing and doing, right? There's lots of things that we know that we don't do, often because we're afraid or because they're hard. And Jesus is super clear about this with the disciples. On the very last night of his life, he says to them, if you know these things, you are blessed, say it with me, if you do them, not if you know them. And this is where a lot of religious life gets messed up, is that people say, well, I have the right knowledge or I have the right beliefs. Not if you don't act on them. It's not doing you any good, right? Which is why I always kind of blanch when someone who's kind of mean-spirited or has been ugly or said harsh things online says, I'm a Christian. I'm like, really? Doesn't look like it. Because we're measured by what? By our fruit, not by our beliefs. Right? Jesus says you'll know them by their fruit, not by what they say. You'll be blessed if you do them, not if you know them. But you have to know them to do them. I get that. So when we make decisions, we all ask questions. We may not say them out loud. That would be kind of weird if we said them out loud all the time. But when you make a decision, you ask unspoken questions like, will this make me happy? By the way, that's a terrible question because you don't know. And happiness is fleeting. Happiness is really a byproduct of a well-lived life, by the way. That's for free. But if you're searching for happiness, you're almost assured not to find it. And so that's a question. This is pretty good. Is it going to hurt? Right? Will this hurt? Will this hurt me? Will this hurt others? This is a great question, particularly for those of you with little ones. Is that hot? Like, that's a good question. And this one I find, if you're asking this, you're already in trouble. Will anyone find out? If you're asking yourself that question, by the way, the answer is yes. Ultimately, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow. But when you're dead, there's no hiding. Your kids go through your stuff. We find out all kinds of things about dead people. So the answer to will anyone find out? The answer is yes. The question is when. And can you live with that? So in the next 4 weeks, I will share 4 questions that can change your life for good, really for good, so you can have fewer regrets, right? So this week we're going to start with number 1, and that's really the integrity question. Am I being honest with myself? And what's the last word? Really, really, really. What's under that? Sometimes we know what we do, but we don't know why we do what we do. Actually, very few people know why we do what we do. And so that's week 1. We'll do that today. I'm trying to pack in everything I didn't tell you over 6 weeks today. So hang in there. Next week, the conscience question. Is there a tension that deserves my attention? Right? That's a good one. And then the third one, I love this one, is the maturity question. What is the wise thing to do? And so, front row over here, as you head back to school, this is your question. So when mom and dad aren't around, just ask yourself, what's the wise thing to do? Is this the wise thing to do? And that's going to handle about 80% of your, should I go to that party? Probably not the wise thing to do. Should I lie to my parents? Probably not the wise thing to do. Should I drive 90 to get home at curfew? Not the wise thing to do, right? So this is a great one, particularly the front row. It's also good for everybody else, right? What's the wise thing to do? And then there's the relationship question, or the Jesus question, which is, what does love require of me? That's how we'll end. What does love require of me? That's a great question. So here's the thing. I know some of you are thinking, particularly our younger people, perhaps, I don't make any decisions. My parents make all my decisions, or my school, or my boss, or my job, or my spouse, or my kids. I don't choose anything. Hey, friends, your response to other people's decision is a decision, right? You have a lot of self-determination. Yes, other people will make decisions around you and maybe even for you, but you get to choose how you respond. And that's a decision. And that's important. So, say it with me. We get to choose how we respond to what happens to us in life. We do. Jesus says, I would recommend to you that you respond in love. What's the next loving thing to do? I don't know that I've ever gone wrong with that question. What is the next loving thing to do? What's the next right thing to do? Because it's never wrong to do the next right thing. It may be hard, but it's never wrong. Now we're going to get to the hard part. I'm sorry. We come to the problem, and that is that the easiest person to deceive is the person in the mirror. It just is. It is. The prophet Jeremiah, who worked with the kings, the last kings of the Judean Empire. Judah is the southern part of what we would know as Israel today. The borderline was 9 miles north of Jerusalem. So if you've ever been to the Holy Land or know a map, that's basically where it is, Judah. And this was a very difficult time in the life of the country. And so Jeremiah was there to help the kings, help those who made policy, to see what was real. That's what a prophet's job is to say, this is the truth of what's going on, whether you like it or not. And so Jeremiah writes to the kings. He writes to us today because the Bible, we believe, as our sacred text, is a living, breathing document that is true always, not sometimes. And he writes this in Jeremiah 17. The heart is deceitful above all things, not just dishonest, right? Dishonesty is dishonesty. Like, okay, that's not honest. Deceitful is more cunning than that. Sometimes it's honest, sometimes it's half honest, sometimes it's not honest at all, and you never know. That's what our hearts do to us. The heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure, right? It's going to have to be managed your whole life, right? I can remember as a junior high school kid, college student, young adult, thinking, I'll grow out of this. It's not how it works. Not with your heart. It always needs to be managed. Who can understand it? And the answer is, according to Jeremiah, not you. Not you. Maybe some understanding in community, and only God is the answer, by the way. Now, to get in, those of you who know the Bible well know that this is translated from Hebrew, right? And depending on the translation, sometimes it's translated from Latin or it's translated from Greek, but the original was in Hebrew, so it has to get translated into another language. Languages don't translate perfectly or easily. That's why we have arguments and church splits and all of that, because we're trying to go from one text to another text and do that honestly and faithfully. So that's one way to read it. Another way to read it in the NRSV, the New Revised Standard Version, which is the version we normally use around here, is the heart is devious. Above all else, it is perverse. Who can understand it? And if you just always want to get punched in the face, you can always read The Message by Eugene Peterson. He writes it like this: the heart is hopelessly dark and deceitful. Your heart, my heart, even good Christian people, our hearts want what it wants, regardless of what we've been taught or what we think or what we say. The heart is hopelessly dark, deceitful. What's the word? A puzzle that no one can figure out. But I, God, search the heart and examine the mind. I get to the heart of the human. And by the way, we don't need to be afraid of that. That's good news, not bad news. I get to the root of things. I treat them as they really are, say it with me, not as they pretend to be. And we all pretend about certain parts of our lives that we're uncomfortable with. Now, I want you to think about this. And this, the truth is tough, but it sets you free. It is possible that you have done more to undermine your own life, your own success, than any other individual on the planet. Think about every bad decision you've ever made. You're the only person in the frame in all of those, right? Other people come and go. Our temptation is to blame our bad decisions on other people and claim our good decisions for ourselves. But if you think about all your bad decisions, you were there. You were there, weren't you? Sure. And also for your good ones. I'm not trying to beat you down. I'm just trying to help us get sober for a second and go, oh, yeah, that's right, actually. Our hearts are deceitful. They'll trick us, particularly if we're the only ones in frame. And here's the other thing. Very few of your decisions are made from your front lobe. They're made from your emotions. Our decisions are heavily influenced by our emotions and our appetites. That's the way the world works. That's the way human nature is. And our appetites often overrule our intelligence. Anybody who's more than 20, I can get an amen. I mean, this is how it works. I mean, I would dare to say that none of us work straightly off of our intelligence, even very intelligent people. You know how I know? Because it's true for me too. Many of you all know that I've been on sabbatical for 6 weeks. And one of the things that I love to do is I love to visit with family, see my sister and her family and my nieces and the nephews and their kids and my boys. And we all went down to see my Aunt Doris Ann, or in Ozark, Alabama, you call it Doris Ann. And she's super sweet and wonderful. But one of the things I love is that growing up, my mom moved from Dothan, Alabama, to the University of Alabama, Tuscaloosa, a moment for that awesome institution, which we must revere in our home. And then she came to Oklahoma State to teach as a professor. And so we would go back to Alabama and Florida about 2 weeks every summer. And it was the great time. I'd get to see my cousins, see my Granny Dot. And when we would go down, some of you all have done this. If you spend a week at the beach, you go shopping the first day. And you get all the food that you're not allowed to eat the rest of the year, which for me includes Sweet Heat Golden Flake chips, which is only found at the coast. I found 4 bags at Dollar General. They don't sell them in the normal stores anymore, and you don't get them in Oklahoma. So I stock up. I have 1 bag left. And you can have none of it, because they're mine. Now, if you ask me to look at the nutritional value of the Golden Flake Sweet Heat chip, you know what I'd tell you? That's what I would tell you. It's not good. It is not good. But I would sit here and say that if I ate as many Golden Flake chips as I want to eat, Sarah, you know this is true about me, it would be a secret no more. It would be public, wouldn't it? Those private decisions about how much chips I eat would be a public event, right? Now, Paul writes this. He says, this is just how it is with people. He says, for I know that nothing good dwells within me, that is my flesh. Am I just my own want to? I can will what is right. I mean, I know what's right, but I can't do it, right? Why? Because I grew up, and the one time a year I got to eat those Sweet Heat chips were some of the best moments of my life. It's an emotional deal. Not because of the chip, because that's when my Granny Dot was alive. And my cousins and I got to run and make sandcastles all day with people we loved and loved us, and had fried chicken and Granny's, cast iron skillet. And life was good and easy and fun. And it was the 2 weeks a year I got to spend time with my dad when he wasn't overseeing the church. And I love it. And I will buy them till there are no more. Right? But I don't do the good that I want, or the intellectual things that I know would be right. It's the evil that I don't want to do is what I do. And I don't know that Golden Flake chips are evil, but you get it, right? Because private decisions always have public consequences. They just do. Even when you tell yourself they don't. Which leads me to the last kings of Judah and the prophet Jeremiah, who was trying to help them. Actually, not just them, but the entire nation. Thousands, tens of thousands of people. And the last kings of Judah, we don't like to talk about these guys because they have hard names. King Jehoiakim, he was about 25 when he started reigning. His son, King Jehoiachin, was 18 and was a puppet king after his dad got killed by King Nebuchadnezzar. And then his uncle, King Zedekiah. And King Zedekiah was about 21 when he began to reign. Very, very young, on purpose, because these were puppet kings. If you were to look at the Fertile Crescent, you had Egypt in the southwest corner, and you had Babylon on the other end. And these were major superpowers of the time. And in the middle, there's this tiny little country named Judah, of which these guys were in charge. and they were just trying to stay alive. And here's the thing. Depending on who won the latest battle, whether it's Egypt or whether it was Babylon, you didn't know who you were supposed to suck up to. Because if you didn't suck up to the right person, you're going to get killed, and so was everybody else. And so they started paying taxes. You can imagine, or maybe you can, maybe you can't, where a superpower would actually say to a smaller country, you owe us this much money, and if you don't, we're going to come in and take you away. That's basically what happened here. And so here's the thing. King Nebuchadnezzar, they were supposed to pay taxes to Babylon, and these guys decided, Egypt has ruled over us more often. I think we're going to go with Egypt. And Jeremiah said, no, you're going to get us all killed. If you do that, King Nebuchadnezzar is going to come in here, and he's going to kill us all. He's going to take you and your kids, and he's going to kill us. But they didn't know what to do, and they were pretty happy with the life they led because they were rich, they had power, they lived an immoral life, they were not interested in God's laws, and they did not listen to God's prophet Jeremiah. Stay with me. They did not listen to God's prophet Jeremiah. They didn't. They all had that in common. And so here's the thing. When our defenses go up, I don't want to hear Jeremiah, I don't want to hear God, I don't want to hear this, our ability to become wise goes down. Because they had wisdom around them, they just chose not to listen to it. And friends, if you're in a position where you have people trying to speak wisdom into your life, listen. Not just for your own good, but for the people around you that you say you care about. 2 Chronicles actually writes this out like this. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he began to reign. He reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. He did what was evil in the sight of the Lord his God. Say it with me. He did not humble himself. And you don't have to, but disaster's coming. He did not humble himself before the prophet Jeremiah, who spoke from the mouth of the Lord. He also rebelled against King Nebuchadnezzar. Bad move. That was really dumb. Who had made him swear by God. He stiffened his neck and hardened his heart against turning to the Lord, the God of Israel. Because here's the piece that I'm trying to help us see. It's always been this way. And I would say for 2,000 years, but this was actually 600 years before the 2,000 years. So nearly 3,000 years it's been this way, friends. Once our heart is set on something, it sends a message to our brain to get it and to justify it. This is true, which is why when you really want to buy something, you get friends around who are going to say, that looks great on you, girl. Or whatever it is, right? Oh, you really need that tool, dude. You got to have that because you never know when a tree's going to fall and you need that tool, right? Yeah, he said so. Brene Brown, who's a research professor out of Houston, she says, our rational grown-up selves are good liars. We've learned how to do this very well. And I'll remind you that only God knows the human heart. Ask him. Ask him. Again, Jeremiah the prophet says, I, the Lord, test the mind and search the heart to give to all according to their ways, according to the fruit of their doings, not the fruit of their knowings, the fruit of their doings, which is why when you say to yourself, I'm going to take out this credit card and I'm not going to tell my spouse because it would stress them out. They'll feel better. I'll have it paid off before they know about it. They've been really busy lately. I'll just buy them some things. We'll do some things over here. It'll be fine. It won't be fine. When you find yourself keeping secrets from people you love, it's going to be a problem. So here's our wisdom for the week. As soon as you start selling yourself anything, hit pause. Really, hit pause. We all have this little salesperson in our head, don't we? It's like, oh, that's a good idea. I should take Algebra 3. It'll really spin me through. You haven't taken Algebra 1 or 2. Probably not that smart. Probably don't just leap on there, right? And why is this? Because you rarely have to sell yourself on a good idea, right? Right? Most people, hopefully, on Thursday, you get up, you don't go, I should really go to school. You just go, right? You don't have to sell yourself on it. Should I go to school this year or not? You should go, right? If you're in high school, for sure, you should go. And if you say to yourself, I think I'm not going to go to school anymore. It'll be fine. I'm just play the lottery. Chances are I'll win before I'm dead. or whatever. No. Here's the reality. Andy Stanley has this right. He says, you can't lead yourself if you're lying to yourself, right? And in the business world, you know this. The mantra is, if they're a liar, you must fire. You cannot work with liars because you never know, right? If someone's lying to you, you've got to exit them from your team, right? There's a lot of things you can work with. Lying is not one of them. It's like Jell-O. You just can't ever stick it, right? And here's the thing about this, what we're talking about. Dishonesty leaks. And you say, well, what's the big deal? I'm just doing it to myself. I'm not doing it to anybody else. No. If you lie to yourself, you will lie to others. You will. It's just a matter of time. Because for some of us, we don't even know if we're telling the truth anymore. You get to that point where like, oh, well, is that true? So this is, I know, I'm talking to every person in the room, even if you don't know. I'm talking to you. I'm begging you, friends, for your own good and the people around you, tell yourself the truth about what you're doing and why you're doing it. Why you're doing it, even if the truth makes you feel yucky. We have this terrible thing going on in our country right now that if it makes you feel bad, just don't think about it. Don't write about it. Take it out of the history books. That's disastrous. The only way we can ever get better is to actually know where we are in the first place. So when it comes to your life, Jesus says you will know the truth and the truth will make you what? Free. But you're not getting free if you don't tell the truth. And the truth will set you free, but it will make you miserable first. It will. It will. It sure will. Every person in AA, NA, all the A's, they know this. The truth will set you free, but it's hard. It's hard. I'm not telling you it's not hard, but you will never get to where you want to be until you actually acknowledge where you are. Right? Chantel and I found this out the hard way when we thought we were hikers. We were going around a loop, and it looked like we were very close to the end. We were just on a parallel trail that didn't have an exit. And then, what do you know? You can't get out until you know where you are. So to decide our way into a better future, we must develop the habit, not just once in a while, but the actual habit of telling ourselves the truth. Right? And so it goes like this, really. Am I being honest with myself? What's the key word? Really? Why do I keep postponing that conversation? Really? If you see it pop up in yellow, say it out loud. Really, right? Why am I avoiding them? Really, right? Why did I say yes when I wanted to say no? Really, you've done that one, right? Why did I choose to wear this? Really? Because it's 103. You will not see me in a tie or a jacket when it's 103. Why did I purchase that? Really? Because somebody said something mean to me on Thursday. I want to feel better, right? Well, so really, I just own it. Why won't I ask for help? Really? Why do I use incognito mode? Really? And it's not just porn. I can say that out loud. I know, that's a huge problem, but there's lots of reasons people do things they don't want other people to know about. I don't need to know. You do. You need to know why you do what you do. Why haven't I called my family? Really? And maybe most important of all for us, why don't I pray? Really? Are we afraid of what God's going to tell us? Are we ashamed of something we don't want God to know about that he already knows about? Just talk to him. Why this matters? Because you're not the only person impacted by your decisions. You're not. Even if you're lying to yourself saying you're not. Every decision we make impacts somebody, beginning with those closest to us, those we love. And if you have children, your personal decisions have generational implications. They just do. This is my sweet Aunt D.A. and my little cousin, Carolyn. We went and saw them. And you know why I love visiting my Aunt D.A.? Because she tells me stories about my mom that my mom won't tell me. Right? And the truth about my mom is, yes, she moved to Oklahoma. Nobody really knows why. Nobody knows why 50 weeks out of the year we live in Oklahoma and only spent 2 weeks in Alabama. I'll probably never know until I get to heaven. And that's okay, but what I do know is if that weren't true, this church wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here. Because she met my dad in Stillwater. They married. had me, and here we are. Without those decisions she made in her teens and 20s, it has huge ramifications for thousands of people, of which she wasn't thinking at the time, but it's still true. Private decisions have public outcomes, right? Which is why we, say it with me, ask, answer honestly, and then act accordingly, right? And here, this is really hard. Most of us want to be proven right more than we want to know what's true. But it's only the truth that sets you free, not being right. Because what you don't know, what you won't know, what you refuse to know can certainly hurt you. It does hurt you. So here's your action steps. These are your back to school questions, right? What am I taking to school? A good attitude, yes, right? Here's maybe some other harder ones. Why do I go to this school? Why am I taking these classes? Why am I stressing myself out? What do I do after school? What do I do between the time I get home and when mom and dad get home from work? What friends do I hang with? Why am I hanging out with them? When do I leave a situation? How will I know? When do I leave my job? When do I leave the relationship? Why am I in this relationship? So this is what I'd like for you to do this week as your action step. You don't have to, I'll never know, but you'll know. I want you to go in your home to your mirror, and I want you to lean in, look at the mirror, and say, Mark, don't say my name. Say your name. Are you being honest with yourself? Really? Just see what happens. Now, here's the thing. I want you to do that even if you know you won't act on it. Because sometimes you're not honest with yourself because you don't want to act on it. You don't have to act on it. You're an adult. Well, you may not be. But, you don't have to. You're going to do yourself a favor if you're just honest. So I want you to make a decision today. Say this. Say it with me. I will not lie to myself. It'd be nice not to lie to others. But I will not lie to myself. That's the most important one. That's the most important one. Don't lie to yourself. If you don't want to play softball anymore, if you don't want to play soccer anymore, if you don't want to be in band anymore, you owe it to yourself to just say, it was good or it was bad, but I just don't want to anymore. I really don't want to. Will some people be upset about it? Sure, but I don't want to. I don't want to. That's okay. Am I telling myself the truth? Or am I selling myself a regret? That's the question. Choose wisely. Hope to see you next week. Let's pray together, okay? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Amen.